Hello there, welcome or welcome back to Beauty Bees. I'm Iris. This is my makeup inventory video. I'm going to try to do all of my makeup in one video because I managed to do it last time, and I hope that my makeup collection was actually slightly larger in the last video. I think I've cut down just a little bit. So let's start out as we usually do with my base products, and you guys, I tried something different this time, and I actually sorted things out before I sat down to film, and all of my base products fit in this little bin. I'm so happy about that. I mean, I know that none of my other categories would fit in this bin, but still, we're taking these small victories. So let me lay all of this out. I've laid everything out. I have primer first. That's the step I would start with, so it only seems natural to do it first in this video. I currently have 7 primers. In my last inventory back in December, I also had 7 primers. They're the same 7. There's been no change here. Supposedly I am panning this one, but I haven't made any progress, so I don't even know if I can legitimately say I've been panning it. So no change here. That's fine. Next up would generally be a foundation, but I currently have no foundations. I actually do want a foundation in my stash. It's a product that I don't use super often, but do like to have. So I will probably purchase one at some point in the coming months, but I'm not in any big rush. I had 2 in the last video, now I'm down to 0, so I'm -2 there. One category that was somehow not in my previous video was concealer. Usually when I have a foundation, I'll just dab a little bit on and use that as concealer when I feel like wearing concealer. But I decided to give this e.l.f. Flawless Brightening Concealer a try, and it's not the right shade for me. It's so peachy. Wow, is the lighting in this video really bad? Let me fix that. And then there was light. So now you can see, yeah, it's not brightening on me. It's actually kind of a decent skin tone match, but it doesn't really have any coverage. So it doesn't work for me as a normal concealer, but it also isn't brightening. So it doesn't help me under my eyes or anything. So I don't know why I still have this. I'm hoping that maybe I'll get half a shade deeper during the summer, and then I'll be able to get away with this. But we cannot spend this much time on all of these products, or we're going to be here forever. Anyway, I didn't have any concealers in the last video. Now I have 1 or +1 in this category. And for powders, in the last video I had 5. In this video I have 5. They're the same 5. There's been no movement whatsoever. I could actually see myself using up 1 or 2 of these by the next video, so maybe, fingers crossed, my inventory numbers will actually go down a little bit in that category. That would be really cool. Okay, this is very chaotic looking, but there is some method to this. I've tried to put things that are newer towards the front, so that I can hopefully identify which things I purchased since the last video. I think that this category, which by the way is cheek products, all of my cheek products, if that wasn't obvious from the shot, I think this has gone up a little bit. Actually, I'm pretty sure this has gone up a little bit overall, but let's go through the numbers. In my last video, I had 20 powder blushes. I don't know how exactly I managed to go from 23 in the video before that, so June 2022, down to 20 in December, but somehow that happened. Right now, I have, let's see, $24. Does that seem right? Have I added 4 blushes, 4 powder blushes since my last video? Yeah, I probably have actually. I'm looking over everything, and I think that the 4 new ones would be these 2 from Sydney Grace. I think one of these is supposedly a highlighter, one is supposedly a blush. Yeah, supposedly this shade is a highlighter. This is Pumpkin Spice Latte, and First Date is a blush, but they're really, really close to each other. And I'm not going to swatch because I'm going to be here all day. But on me, they both function as glowy blushes. This one from Giorgio Armani is quite new to me. I just received this through BuzzAgent a few weeks ago, and I've been loving it. It is beautiful. And then finally, the new blush to my collection would be this one from the Snow White collection. This is bold, and clearly I don't wear it very often because it still has that Super Shock print on it. But this is such a pretty look. I need very, very little, but it does give this really pretty, pinched, sort of sun-kissed look to the cheeks, and it is really very reminiscent of Snow White. So good naming there. Not super happy that my powder blush category went up by 4. I really thought that I'd done a good job, but oh well. Hopefully I will have this one done by the end of the year, and then I'll be down to 23. I don't know how likely that really is to happen, but you know, it could. The next category that I have down is cream blush. So in December of 2022, I had 5, and now I am up to 6. All of these cream products here, with the exception of the Bonnie Dumanizer, are cream blushes, and most of these I've had for quite a while. The new addition would be this Nude Sticks, Nudies Matte Luxe, and I really like this. This is another product that I could actually see being gone by the next video because there's not a ton of product in here, and this is suitable for eyes, lips, and cheeks. So it's one of those products that I think if I decided to like use it hardcore and made it my mission to pan, would go really quickly. So like with powder blush, my cream blush category has gone up a little bit, but I'm not unhappy about it. I think that this is a pretty reasonable category, and really over the past month or so, I've been wearing cream blush more than I ever have before, so it doesn't make me mad at all that I have 6. Next, let's move on to powder bronzer. I was on a powder bronzer kick towards the end of last year, and I think I had decluttered a couple. Actually, I know I decluttered a couple because I had this Physicians Formula palette that I really liked, but I ended up being allergic to one of the ingredients, so I had to toss it. And it had, I think, 2 bronzers in there, and I think I had to get rid of another one for the same reason. But that's in the past now. In December 2022, so yes, I'm still talking about the past, but more recent at least, I was at 10 bronzers. And right now, I am at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This Bare Minerals one is a bronzer. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That makes sense to me. The only bronzer that I've purchased this year would have been this Bare Minerals Warmth. It is a loose bronzer. I've been using it as a blush more than a bronzer, but we're gonna just keep with their categorization of the product. And I really like this. I think it's very, very pretty. It has some fun highlighter on it now because the loose highlighter that's in this picture was not quite closed properly, but that just makes it extra pretty. So this category has gone up by 1 from 10 to 11. That's fine. Whatever. Like with the blushes, I am hoping to finish a bronzer by the end of the year. I would really like to have this Tarte Park Avenue Princess gone, and I think that's still within the realm of possibility. So once I have that done, I'll move on to Laguna. And I don't think I can get both of them done by the end of the year. I just don't use enough bronzer to do that. But a year from now, when I film my June 2024, oh my goodness, that doesn't even seem like a real year. You guys, I'm going to be 30 then. Anyway, when I film this update next year, I want to have these two gone. And hopefully I won't have bought like 30 bronzers to way over replace them. We'll see. There's always hope, right? The cream bronzer category is not very exciting. I had this Bonnie Duminizer in the last video. I still have this Bonnie Duminizer. The category has stayed at 1. I don't foresee it going up, but I could see it going down because I'm just not that wild about this product. I could see myself decluttering it. And where things in this video go downhill is powder highlighter. I don't know how bad the damage actually is. There might not be too much damage at all, really. But I've been enjoying highlighter so much more than I ever have in the past. And it wouldn't surprise me if my numbers have crept up by more than a little in the last few months. So in my last update, I had 17 powder highlighters. And today I keep getting 14. Maybe I'm missing something. But I don't think so. Looking over what I have, I'm not thinking of anything that is clearly missing. And highlighter, unlike like lipsticks, for example, doesn't tend to wander around my apartment. Usually I just put on highlighter at the beginning of the day and then I'm done with it. It's not like I carry one around in my purse with me. So maybe I did. So I must have decluttered some, which, you know, I think that I decluttered my 4-pan Wet n Wild palette towards the beginning of this year. So that makes some sense, actually. Okay. I know where that discrepancy is coming from then. Now, I do have 2 new highlighters since my last video. The first is the one that's currently all over my Bare Minerals, and this is what is this? This is Dynamite from Copacetic Cosmetics. I'm not going to open it up, but it is a white-based highlighter with a green flash, and it has these little red glitters in it. I'm not so sure about the red glitters, but I actually wear this fairly often. It's surprisingly easy to get away with, especially if the rest of my makeup is pretty neutral. I don't have a hard time wearing this out at all. And then the last new item is from Laura Geller. This is their Baked Gelato Swirl Illuminator in Diamond Dust. I got this in a Macy's beauty box. They will sometimes sell their older box for like $8 online. And this is stunning. I can't really see my monitor very well, but I hope that it is catching how pink purple this is. It definitely has a strong white base, so I don't think it would be great for people with deeper skin tones. I think it might look kind of ashy, but on my fair skin, that purple pink flip is just so pretty. I love it. And I'm really glad that my numbers in this category haven't ballooned the way I thought they might have. So my blush categories went up a little bit, my bronzer went up by 1, and my highlighters actually decreased. Awesome. I'm really happy with that. Eye accessories time. These are everything that goes on or around your eyes that isn't eyeshadow. So my brow products are in here, eye primers, mascara. If I had any lash glue, it would be in here, eyeliner. So much fun stuff. So let's start out with eye primer. This is not a terribly exciting category. It's not a set of products that I really care very much about. Right now I have 2 eye primers. They are the same ones that I would have had in my last video, but I also had 2 eye primers. So no change there. Next up we have mascara. So in my last video I had 2 mascaras, and now I am at 1 open mascara and then 3 additional mascaras that are unopened. This one from MAC is a mini, so I don't think I will probably get the full 3 months out of it, but then I have 2 full-size Pacifica mascaras. I think all of these would actually be new since the last video. I've gone through quite a bit of mascara in the last 6 months because I've needed to find items that are beeswax free, which is surprisingly difficult. Not necessarily to find a beeswax free mascara, but to find a good beeswax free non-waterproof mascara is really way harder than it should be. So, still working on that. So far, the Essence Lash Like a Boss is the one that I've enjoyed most. However, this is not the video for that. For this video, it is adequate to just say that I've gone from 2 to 4. So I've doubled my stash, and I don't even feel bad about it. Next up, let's move to eyeliner. So in my last video, I had 14. Now I have 16. Okay. I'm trying to think what I would have used up. And I can't think of anything. But I know that there are 3 new products here. So first up would be this potted eyeliner from e.l.f. This is in a purple shade, and I've barely touched it. I wasn't super impressed the first time I used it, and I just haven't really given it another good shot. So I need to play around with this some more. I've had this for like 4 months. I really should have used it more than that by now. I have this mini of the Maybelline, what is this called? Master Precise All Day Liquid Liner. I haven't opened this. This was a free gift with purchase from Ulta. I'm currently working on this Wet n Wild eyeliner, which I think I would have had in the last video. And then this is a new acquisition as well. This is from 3ina. It is their The Color Pen Eyeliner in 850, and it is a really pretty cobalt blue shade. All of these pencil eyeliners I had in the last video. I don't really see myself going through any this year. This olive green is in a project pan, but I've made like 2 millimeters of progress probably on it, and there is that much to go. So I don't think that's likely to leave my collection. Then the last category that we have are brow products. I had 7 in my last video, and now I am down to 4. I think much of what the difference there would be is the Instant Lift Brow Pencil from e.l.f. I usually have a backup. I actually just opened this one last week, so I should probably get on the e.l.f. website sometime and pick up a couple of backups, but I don't need to do it right now, and I am enjoying having a category that actually shrank a little bit. And I really just have 1 of each kind of item here, which I think is great. I have 1 brow pencil, I have a wax, what do they call this? They call this a brow glue. A pomade, which I'm wearing today, and I've actually been really enjoying this lately. I kind of go with spurts with brow pomade, where sometimes I'll wear it like every day for weeks, and then I won't touch it for months. I'm finding a little bit of balance there, where I've been using it a couple times a week recently, instead of just using it all the time or completely ignoring it. And then I have 1 brow powder, which I could actually see myself getting rid of. I've had this for a really long time. I bought this my 2nd year of grad school, I think, which would have been 2017. So this is not terribly, terribly old, but, you know, probably not ideal. And I haven't touched it in months, so I'll think about that. I could see myself getting rid of that. Anyway, this entire category is generally in pretty good shape. It's always been an area where I didn't feel I had a problem. It was just a category that I wanted to keep an eye on, so I included it in my inventory video because I kind of had the feeling that if I got another category under control and I wasn't keeping an eye on this, that it could experience unwanted growth. But for now, that hasn't happened. I'm really happy with this. Let's move on to eyeshadow. Hello again. I told myself that after I filmed the eye accessories section that I was going to take a quick break, and then my break ended up being like 36 hours long. So it's the next day. I have my first set of eyeshadow laid out here. Generally, eyeshadow takes up 3 spreads. I'm really hoping that maybe I can get it down to 2 though. Fingers crossed. Anyway, we don't need to worry about that yet. Let's start with liquid eyeshadows. Now, there has been a little bit of movement in this category. Honestly, I think that I probably just counted this one as an eyeliner in the last video. I think that's where the discrepancy, or at least some of the discrepancy in my eyeliner counts was coming from. But otherwise, almost everything here would have been in my last update. The one exclusion is this Bare Minerals liquid eyeshadow in Warmth, which, let me check if it's actually in Warmth. Yes, I got this in the same little gift set where I got the loose powder bronzer from. So in my last video I had 8 liquid shadows, now I have 9. So I used one up. I had a purple from the balm that I used up earlier this year. I got one that somewhat replaced it, and then one that got moved from a different category. So really pretty constant there. I'm fine with that. The other category where this might have gone in my last video is shadow sticks. I don't feel a need to have that as a category anymore because this is the only contender that I even have right now. But in my last video I had 2, so now I'm down to 1/0 depending on how you want to look at it. Now let's move to pigments. I have 2 pigments. They are both Giant. They're both from Sydney Grace, and they are the same 2 pigments that I had in my last video. So there's been no movement here whatsoever, and there probably never will be movement downward, at least, in this category, because I'm gonna have to like split this among my great-grandchildren in my will if there's any hope that these are ever going to be finished. Now let's move on to Super Shocks. In my last video I had 10, now I have 11. The one that is new is this pink from ColourPop. This is the shade Bubbly, and it is very cute. I haven't gotten a ton of use out of it, but I've really enjoyed it when I have worn it. So I don't know what I was doing my senior year of college. So let's go back to 2015-2016 Iris, who somehow used up 2 full Super Shock shadows, like every crumb of those Super Shocks within a year. I have no idea how that happened because I'm struggling so hard to hit pan in these this year. I've been cycling through and working on one Super Shock at a time to just hit pan. This one I think I already had pan on at the beginning of the year. This is Ice Dream. The first one I worked on this year is slash was Flower Child, and I've hit pan on that. Then I switched to this sort of peachy gold shade from the Hocus Pocus collection. This is To Be Young and Beautiful Again. I hit pan in that, loved working on it. I've loved working on all of these. They are gorgeous. And then right now I am working on Fly to Your Heart from their Tinkerbell collection. And I don't have pan yet, and I'm not going to have pan for quite a while. Oh well. So I went from 10 to 11. I really like Super Shocks. I probably don't need any more, but I wouldn't be mad if this number went up by 1 or 2, because I really do love them. These two Kiko eyeshadows live in a strange part of my inventory. I count them as magnetic singles because essentially that's what they are. They just have their own little compact that I tend to keep them in because they're a little bit thicker. They don't really fit super nicely in all of my Z palettes, but these do pop out really easily. There's a little hole in the back where you can stick a bobby pin in there or something, and it's, you know, a baked eyeshadow. It goes into magnetic palettes. My magnetic palettes are just a little too skinny for them. So those two have been here for a long time. Another one that I'm putting in the same category is this little eyeshadow from Natasha Denona. This is a sample from the Retro Glam palette. I got this as like a Sephora 100-point perk, I think, or maybe one of their gift with purchase codes. It doesn't really matter. I have just one of these. I do have another one in Camel, but it's actually out of the compact and in a palette. I have 3 magnetic singles here, and then we can move on to my smaller palettes. There's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason to which palettes ended up in this spread, except for I tried to go for things that were smaller, and then I grabbed a couple of bigger palettes. So first up, we have these 2 ColourPop quads. I believe that I would have had this purple one in the last video, but this peach one may be new. The 3 e.l.f. bite-size quads would be the same 3 that I had in the last video. I also would have had these 3 Viseart palettes. Actually, fun fact, I would have had all of my palettes at the beginning of this year because I haven't purchased any eyeshadow palettes so far in 2023. It is mid-June as I'm filming this, and I've been so good. I started out just aiming with myself to not purchase an eyeshadow palette in January and February, and that turned out to be easier than I'd expected, and now I'm 6 months in, and I'm really happy with where my stash is at. I could totally see myself purchasing a smaller eyeshadow palette later this month. I have some Ulta points that are due to expire at the end of the month, and I kind of want to treat myself, but I've been really happy with that so far. So that's my way of saying that everything else in front of me was in my last video. I've had it for a while. I've used all of these things, and I really like them. So let's count up the number of palettes and then the number of pans of eyeshadow, or, you know, eyeshadows that are in front of me. Not everything's in a pan. So this is a 6-pan palette in the Balmbina palette from The Balm. We talked about the 4 cheek shades earlier on in the video. There are also 4 eyeshadows here, so that brings us to 10 shades. Similar story with this Tarte Sugar Rush palette. There are 4 eyeshadows in here as well as a blush. 14, 19, 24. I don't know how obvious it is from your angle, but this is a 5-pan palette. 29, 37, 49, 57, 65, 73, 77, 86, and then 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. So there are 111 eyeshadows in front of me right now. I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 palettes here. Let's move on to spread number 2 of hopefully 2. Let's see. So it turns out that I could have put all of my eyeshadow in the same spread, or all the rest of my eyeshadow in the same spread, but I would have had to adjust how I have everything set up, and I wasn't willing to do that. Also, while I was setting all of these up, I decided that I'm going to be decluttering this Golden Hour palette from Beauty for Real. I've talked about decluttering this essentially since I got it, and I just never use it. Some of these shimmers are pretty, especially these two, but I have things like them elsewhere in my collection, and these mattes especially are just not the types of mattes that I prefer. I don't tend to reach for anything quite this dark very regularly, and this orange is my enemy. If I have an enemy eyeshadow shade, it is this kind of orange. I don't know why. I think it looks decent on me actually, but there's something about it that I just never want to use. So yeah, this is going to leave my stash. Now let's get to the other items. Nothing here is new. I've used and enjoyed practically all of these in the past 6 months since I filmed my last update. The one other item that I could see myself getting rid of is this Profusion Glam palette. It's not a bad palette. It is a surprisingly nice little palette. I just never use it. I have used it quite a bit in the past. I don't know if you will be able to tell, but there's actually a really good dip going in this gold as well as in this pink. But I just haven't been using it very much the last few months. Or really the past like year and a half. It's not just a last 6 months problem. But anyway, that is here for the moment, and let's count things up. In front of me, I have 8, 6, 14 eyeshadow palettes. I've completely forgotten already how many I had in the last spread. But within these 14 palettes, there are 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 72, 90, 108, 117, 126, 138, 147, 163 total eyeshadows. So let's see what the third spread has in store for me. Okay, I thought I was filming. I was not. I have 156 eyeshadows in front of me and 2 palettes. Almost nothing here is new. Certainly the 2 palettes from ColourPop, which are 2 of their 30 pan palettes, are not. I think there are a couple of new shades scattered through the Z palettes, which I have them all laid out, all of my single shadows laid out in these 4, but usually they're spread out a bit more through, I don't know, probably an additional 3 smaller Z palettes. So these are looking very strange to me right now, but I'm pretty sure that at least one new shade is this pink from Copacetic Cosmetics. I got that in their subscription bag back in December, I believe. And it doesn't seem like it would be a super easy everyday shade because it's like this bright sort of bubble gummy lavender pink, but it's gorgeous. It looks beautiful in the crease, and I wear it actually a lot, probably surprisingly so. And I don't know what else is new, but I'm sure that there's at least one other new shade in here. Anyway, 156 eyeshadows here, 2 more palettes. I think my numbers in the eyeshadow category might have actually gone down. I haven't totaled everything up yet, and I cannot remember for the life of me what my counts were for the previous spreads, but I have a good feeling about this. So I realized as I was laying everything out that I totally forgot to bring my lip liners, but I haven't gotten any new lip liners, so I don't care enough at this point to go grab new things. So just know that there are lip liners here that aren't getting counted live in the video, but I will include in my final totals. So, now, looking over things, there's a lot of lip products here, but let's see if we can go through things and identify what's new, what's been here a while, and go from there. Starting with liquid lipsticks. I think that the 2 new items here are these 2 minis. I have one from Bare Minerals and then one from Copacetic Cosmetics. So there's been a little bit of change in this category. I'm looking at my picture from last year, and it looks like there were 2 lipsticks that are no longer here. So I think this category is actually stayed exactly the same in terms of total products, but I've switched 2 full sizes for 2 minis. So that's some progress. Next we have these. These don't really fit in any category very well. These are eye, lip, and cheek tints from Jason Wu. And they look like lipsticks, so I tend to store them with my lipsticks. And I think I'll count them in my lip products because I didn't count them in my blushes. Seemed reasonable, right? Next we have these Maybelline crayon products. Looking at my picture from last year, I think the only one that I would have had is this Superstay Matte Ink Crayon. This is in the shade Stay Exceptional. And I really enjoy this product. I wear it quite a bit. Because I liked that so much, I ended up purchasing this one in Change is Good. And I've just been overall really pretty impressed with Maybelline lip products. So I branched out and tried 2 new formulas as well. This is their Balmy Lip Blush, and I love this. It's so good. It is a tinted lip balm, has a really pretty cherry color to it. I wear that a lot. And then this is a little bit different for me. This is a matte lip product in the shade More Mocha. It's a brown, which it's pretty. I don't wear it super often, but I've liked it every time I've worn it. Also, these smell so good. Kind of a strong scent, but just opening that right now, it hit me, and I was again reminded just how much I enjoy those. So 3 of those are new. This Kat Von D I had in the last video, same with the YSL. Actually, same with everything else in this row. The one thing in this row that would have changed is I had another Tarte H2O balm. I actually made a lot of progress on that Tarte H2O balm, but then it self-destructed in my purse a few weeks ago, so it had to go. Next, let's move up here to lip glosses. And again, a lot of these were around in the last video. Certainly Milk Makeup, Milani. I'm looking for this Persona gloss. This doesn't feel new to me, but it doesn't seem like it was in the last video either. So this is a gloss in Marrakesh. This is a little on the thick side for what I prefer in a gloss. It's a little bit more pigmented than I tend to prefer, but I do like it. I just don't love it. Fenty, I had this Maybelline lip vinyl. I guess I categorized as a liquid lipstick last time. It's kind of in between the two. I think either is a reasonable categorization. All of these were here. And then the one new product I'm seeing is this Bare Minerals Warmth. It's from the same gift set as the other three Bare Minerals, or the other two Bare Minerals Warmth products have been. So I don't think there was much of a change with the glosses. I see some products in my old photo that aren't here anymore. I see a couple that are new. We'll have to see when I do my final total, but the way I'm counting now, I have 5, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 glosses. That's not too bad. Now let's move over to the tinted lip balm category. This category, I'm sure, changes members a little bit between different videos, but let's just look at what I currently have. So I see 3 of these NARS Afterglow Balms, whereas I previously had 4. I used one up earlier this year. I have the Pat McGrath Lip Balm, which, yes, I did have in my last video. This Rare Beauty was around. The Urban Decay, I believe, is new since the last video. That makes sense. I bought this right around Christmas, and I filmed my inventory video at the very beginning of December, or maybe even late November last year. So this is new. This is really pretty, actually. I could totally see myself categorizing this as a lipstick instead. The shade that I have is DTLA. Really pretty. The packaging, too, is just lovely. I love this sort of organic shape with the metallic finish. I think that's a really neat combination. This Miss Show Beauty has been around for ages. Yeah, let's move up to the top row, which is the standard lipsticks. These two from Lancome are definitely new. I bought these back in April from TJ Maxx, and they are so pretty. I mean, I don't know how well it captures on camera, but this just has a glow to it. It's like a pearly shine, but it's not due to really tiny glitters. It's like it just glows from within. It's so pretty. And here's the other shade. This is Moderato, and I actually wear this quite a bit. It's beautiful. A Natasha Denona lipstick, which I also purchased this right around Christmas, so this is again new. This is Jennifer in their I Need a Nude line. Really pretty. Kind of in line with a lot of other lipsticks that I have, so it doesn't get as much use as it should, but this is a nice one. NARS would have been in my last video, as would this little Tarte lipstick. I decluttered the sibling to this Kiko lipstick. I had a deeper purple one, and I am actually working on project panning this one right now, so hopefully in my next video, both of them will be gone. I also had a companion to this Pat McGrath lipstick. I have the orange one, kind of a red orange. I don't know. It's Elson 2. Actually, is almost the exact same color as my nails. So, sort of a poppy red shade. So pigmented. Obnoxiously pigmented, but pretty. And I used up a sort of like deep rose shade from the same little set. I had 4 MAC lipsticks in the last video. I still have 4 MAC lipsticks. I had 2 flower lipsticks. I recently decluttered the pink from this line because I had similar shades, and the scent on these flower lipsticks sometimes bothers me. But I don't have anything that's really similar to this beautiful deep berry shade in Wild Berry, so I keep this around. 3 e.l.f. lipsticks. I used to have 4 e.l.f. lipsticks. I've used up one of their hydrating core lip shines in a purpley shade. Yay, so I'm down one, and I always tell myself that I'm working on these two specifically, like not in a real project pan or anything, but just they seem like lipsticks that would be easy to make progress on because they're so thin. But then I never actually use them up. So I'm not gonna pretend like these won't be here in the next video. They probably will. And I don't even mind because these are really nice. Next we have Revlon. In my last video I had 6 of the Revlon Super Lustrous lipsticks. Now I have 4. I had 3 of the Revlon Glass Shine lipsticks, and I still have 3. So I've finished one of these Super Lustrous lipsticks, and I've decluttered one. Now moving on to Pat McGrath, I had these 2 Pat McGrath lipsticks in the previous video. I added this one recently. I got it from TJ Maxx, and it is a light sort of peachy nude color. It's actually almost exactly the same shade as the Natasha Denona Jennifer lipstick. I just wear this one more for some reason. Not sure why, but I really do like it. And then last, this is another new lipstick. This is from Copacetic Cosmetics. It is in the shade Moon Goddess, and it's really pretty. It's kind of a purple shade. Little bit hard for me to wear on its own, but I love mixing it, especially with DTLA from Urban Decay. This is the most beautiful combination. It's a little bit purple, a little bit mauve, but it's somehow really springy and easy to wear with a wide variety of outfits. I really liked that. Okay, so in my last video I had 90 total lip products, and let me zoom in on my last video and I can count how many lip liners I had. Looks like I had 13 lip liners. I know that hasn't changed. So we're starting from 13. 15. I'm at 87. I went down. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. I didn't think it was going to go down. I thought it would go up, but just a little bit. I'm really happy with this. I think my eyeshadow category went down. I think my lip products category went down. This went so much better than I thought it would. Oh my goodness. I'm kind of tearing up right now. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just busy having a happy breakdown over here. It's all good. Thanks again. I'll be doing my beauty inventory. So all of my beauty stuff that's not makeup or nail polish, because I did that last week, will be up probably next week. Okay, I need to end this. See ya!